Time does not ask for permission. It slips quietly through the cracks of our routines, the corners of our calendars, and the silent hours between dusk and dawn. One day, you look in the mirror and realize that youth has passed you by, not with fanfare, but with a whisper. You begin to understand that the moments you rushed through were actually the ones that mattered most. After 50, life doesn't just change. It reveals its true nature. The people who once filled your world may be gone, and the noise that once seemed important now feels hollow. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that impermanence is not a curse, but a doorway into presence, purpose, and peace. So if you're asking, what now? This video is for you. It's not too late to live with clarity. It's not too late to love with depth. And it's never too late to make this chapter your most conscious one yet. If that touches something in you, please like this video, leave your reflections in the comments, and subscribe to walk this path of wisdom together. There is a sunrise that arrives. After 50, not the one you see in the sky, but the one that glows quietly in the soul. It's not as dazzling as the first one, the one of youth, filled with ambition and excitement. No, this sunrise is softer, wiser. It doesn't rush. It asks you to pause and look inward, to notice what truly matters before the sun sets. In Buddhist teachings, one of the most powerful truths is anicca, impermanence. Everything changes, everything fades. But within this reality is an incredible invitation to live with more meaning, not less. Because when we deeply understand that time is fleeting, we begin to treasure it more. After 50, you no longer have the luxury of believing you'll live forever. And oddly enough, that's where freedom begins. There is a parable of a man who lived his whole life chasing wealth, thinking that one day he would retire and finally enjoy peace. At the age of 60, he heard of the Buddha's teachings and decided to ask him a question. Is it too late for me to live a spiritual life? He asked with trembling hands and a tired heart. The Buddha looked at him with gentle eyes and said, "Let me tell you about a man who found a field of golden rice at sunset. Though he had only a short time before nightfall, he harvested enough to feed his whole village." The message is simple. It is never too late. In fact, many people are not ready to truly begin until later in life, once the illusions of youth fade, and the deeper longing for peace and purpose awakens. After 50, you are not declining, you are awakening. You now have enough experience to see through false pursuits, and enough wisdom to walk the path with grace. The second sunrise is about noticing the small things. The laughter of a grandchild, the warmth of tea in your hands, the beauty of a quiet walk. It's about being instead of always doing. It's about returning to your essence, the part of you that existed long before titles, achievements, or regrets. So, how can you welcome your second sunrise? First, by embracing presence. Don't let the mind stay stuck in the past or race into the future. Buddhist meditation teaches us that the present moment is not just a pause between memories, it is life itself. Every breath is a chance to return home to yourself. Second, forgive yourself. The mistakes you made were part of your learning. You don't need to carry them into this chapter. Buddhist compassion starts within loving yourself as you would a dear friend. And lastly, ask yourself this. If I knew I had only a few more years to live, how would I spend today? Not in fear, but in clarity. Would you spend more time with those you love? Would you create, give, explore, rest, or simply be? The second sunrise is waiting. Will you open your eyes to it? What does your second sunrise look like? Share your reflection below and subscribe if you're ready to walk this new chapter with greater peace and purpose. By the time we reach 50, we're all carrying a backpack. Not the kind filled with clothes or supplies, but one made of emotions, silent burdens accumulated over the years. Inside it are unspoken regrets, broken relationships, guilt over things we said or didn't say, and memories we keep replaying as if they might change. Some of the things in this backpack are decades old. An argument that never found closure. A dream that slipped away while we were busy surviving. The weight isn't visible, but it shows in the eyes, in the sleepless nights, in the way we distract ourselves to avoid feeling it. Buddhism teaches us that suffering doesn't come from what happens to us, but from our attachment to it. The concept of upadana, clinging, shows that we often suffer not because of the past, but because we refuse to let it go. We carry pain long after the wound has closed, reopening it each time we replay it in our mind. There's a Zen story about a monk and his disciple walking along a muddy road. They come across a woman struggling to cross. The older monk lifts her and carries her across the puddle. Hours later, the disciple, clearly disturbed, says, "Master, why did you carry that woman? We monks are not supposed to touch women." The master replied, "I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" That story holds a mirror to our lives. How often do we carry people, situations, or stories long after they're gone? How much space in our hearts is taken by people who no longer walk beside us? Every day we carry the emotional weight of things we should have put down years ago. And it silently shapes how we move, how we love, and how we age. The question is, why do we carry it? Partly because we think we must. That by holding on to the past, we're somehow honoring it. Or that if we forgive ourselves, we're letting ourselves off too easily. But in Buddhist thought, forgiveness is not forgetfulness. It's the deep understanding that holding onto anger, shame, or grief is like grasping a hot coal and expecting the other person to be burned. Letting go doesn't mean the past didn't matter. It means you matter enough to stop suffering from it. After 50, there is no more time to be weighed down. You deserve lightness. Not because life has been easy, but because you have earned your peace. And you can't walk the rest of your path with wisdom if you're carrying the entire road behind you. So how do we begin to release? First, bring awareness to what you're carrying. Write it down if you have to. What memory, person, or emotion still follows you into your quiet moments? Then practice metta or loving kindness meditation. Begin by offering kindness to yourself, not in a surface level way, but as you would comfort a child who is hurting. Say, "May I be free. May I be light. May I forgive myself and others. It's not magic, but it's medicine. And finally, remind yourself, you are not your past. You are the awareness that sees it. And the one who sees can choose to let go. This next chapter of life should feel lighter. Not because life is easier, but because you've become wiser. You've learned that peace isn't something you chase. It's something you allow when you put the backpack down. What's something you're ready to let go of today? A grudge? A regret? A version of yourself that no longer fits? Share it in the comments. And if this resonates, subscribe and keep walking with us toward inner freedom. There comes a moment in every life, often after 50, when the noise begins to lose its meaning. The endless opinions, the television murmuring in the background, the constant tug of other people's expectations. Slowly, you start craving something deeper. Not entertainment, not distraction, but silence. A kind of silence that doesn't feel empty, but sacred. We spend the first half of life building an identity, chasing titles, achievements, and approval. In all that running, we rarely pause to ask, who am I beneath all this noise? The answer, as Buddhist wisdom gently points out, cannot be found in more thinking. It is discovered in silence. The Buddha often retreated into the forest, not to escape life, but to hear it more clearly. In the stillness, he discovered not only peace, but profound truths about the nature of suffering, joy, and freedom. Silence was not just an absence of words, it was the presence of clarity. There is a story from the Buddhist tradition of a young seeker who traveled far to find a wise monk reputed to have all the answers. When he arrived, he flooded the monk with questions. What is the path to happiness? How do I find peace? What is the meaning of life? The monk sat quietly, pouring tea into the young man's cup. He kept pouring until the tea overflowed, spilling onto the table. Why are you doing that? The seeker cried. The monk smiled and said, your mind is like this cup, too full to receive anything new. Empty it, and you may begin to understand. We fill our minds with so much noise. Internal judgments, social pressures, memories we revisit over and over. But real healing begins when we allow silence to wash over us like a gentle tide. Not the silence of isolation, but the silence of presence. After 50, this becomes especially important. The world doesn't slow down, but you can. In fact, you must. Your nervous system, your heart, your spirit, all of them long for quiet spaces, where truth can arise naturally, where you no longer have to prove anything to anyone, but simply be. Start by making friends with silence. You don't have to go to a monastery or meditate for hours. Just sit quietly in the morning with your tea. Turn off the noise. Breathe. Listen to the wind, the distant hum of life. Notice the subtle sensations in your body. This is not emptiness. It is awareness awakening. In Buddhist practice, noble silence is not just refraining from speech. It's about refraining from internal chatter. It is a kind of sacred listening, where the soul speaks and the ego grows quiet. In that silence, your worries lose their urgency, your regrets soften, and you start hearing the gentle voice of wisdom within. The older we get, the more we realize that peace is not something we find in the outside world. It's something we learn to cultivate inside, and silence is the soil where that peace grows. But beware, at first, silence can feel uncomfortable. We're used to hiding behind noise. When it fades, buried emotions can rise. Don't run from them. Let them come. Let them teach you. Buddhist mindfulness is not about suppressing thoughts. It's about seeing them clearly, without getting caught. In the quiet, you will meet yourself, and that is the beginning of freedom. So pause, breathe, sit with yourself, not as a problem to be fixed, but as a presence to be honored. You've been through enough noise. It's time to let the silence speak. What's one way you can welcome more silence into your day? Share it in the comments. And if you're finding value in this journey, hit subscribe and keep walking with us toward peace. After 50, life whispers a question that can no longer be ignored. What truly matters now? We've spent years climbing ladders, some personal, some professional. We've bought things we once thought would bring lasting happiness. But slowly, almost quietly, we begin to see most of it was noise. The car, the status, the comparisons. They brought brief moments of joy, yes, but not peace, and certainly not meaning. Buddhist teachings remind us of the principle of anicca, impermanence. Everything we cling to, every possession, every identity, even our bodies, will pass. This is not a morbid truth. It's a liberating one. When you know nothing lasts forever, you begin to ask, what is worth my time, my energy, my heart? There's an old parable about a man being chased by a tiger. He runs and falls off a cliff, barely clinging to a vine. Above him, the tiger waits. Below, sharp rocks. Suddenly, he notices a strawberry growing near the vine. He picks it, eats it, and says, "How sweet it tastes." The lesson? Life is always uncertain. But even in the middle of fear, pressure, and chaos, there are moments of beauty. The key is to notice them, to choose them. Now, in this second half of life, we no longer have the luxury of scattering our attention. We must choose what brings life to our years, not just years to our life. And often, those things are small. A morning walk, a deep conversation, the smell of rain. Moments with those who truly see us. Buddhism teaches simplicity, not as a punishment, but as a path to clarity. When we simplify, we see. When we slow down, we feel. And when we feel, we connect with life, with others, and with our deeper selves. So what truly matters? Not the extra hours at work to impress people who won't remember you. Not the grudges that hollow you out. Not the endless scrolling or mindless arguments. What matters is kindness. Time well spent. Inner stillness. Acts of love. being present for what is already here. And you get to choose that now. You don't need permission. Not anymore. Begin today. Ask yourself, if I had only a few years left, what would I regret not doing? Who would I regret not loving fully? Let those answers guide your time. What matters most to you in this chapter of life? Leave a comment and let your voice become part of this mindful journey. There's a quiet moment that arrives sometime after 50, when you stand before the mirror and see someone different. The eyes carry more stories. The face holds the imprint of laughter and loss. And somewhere deep inside, a voice wonders, is this really me? The physical changes are undeniable. Slower steps, softer skin, a different kind of strength, less about muscles, more about endurance. But the real struggle isn't the change itself. It's the resistance to it. Buddhism teaches the path of acceptance, not resignation, but seeing things as they truly are without clinging to what they once were. The body is not who we are. It is a vessel, a temporary home. Clinging to youth, resisting age, only causes more suffering. There's a Zen story of a monk who, at the end of each day, would bow to his reflection in the water. When asked why, he said, "I honor the one who changes, and I honor the one who sees the change." That is the wisdom we must embrace. Aging is not a loss, it's a return. A return to truth. A shedding of masks. A time when we are no longer trying to impress the world, but finally ready to understand ourselves. But this understanding begins with kindness, especially toward our own reflection. Too often, we speak to ourselves in harsh ways. We compare ourselves to younger versions, to others, to impossible standards. Yet in Buddhist mindfulness, we are taught compassion begins at home. You would never speak to a friend the way you sometimes speak to yourself. So why not extend that same gentleness inward? Try this. The next time you look into the mirror, don't inspect. Just look and say, "Thank you." Thank your body for carrying you through love and heartbreak, through dreams and disappointments. Thank your mind for surviving the noise of life. Thank your heart for continuing to care, even when it hurt. Because true peace is not found in fighting what is. It's found in bowing to it with grace. This is not about giving up. It's about growing up, not just in age, but in soul. When you stop fighting time, you begin to walk with it. And when you walk with time, it becomes a companion, not a thief. Aging is the art of becoming more real. Let each wrinkle be a verse in your life's poem. Let each gray hair be a thread in your wisdom robe. There is beauty in the becoming. As the years pass, we accumulate not just memories but emotional weight. Unspoken resentments. Long-held regrets. Old identities that no longer serve us. By the time we reach 50, our inner world can begin to feel like a cluttered room. And yet, we wonder why peace is hard to find. Buddhism teaches the power of letting go. Not to forget or suppress, but to release what no longer serves our awakening. In the Dhammapada, it is written, "Just as a snake sheds its skin, we must shed the past again and again. There is a story of two monks walking along a muddy path. They come across a woman who needs help crossing a stream. One monk lifts her and carries her across. Hours later, the other monk says, "I can't believe you touched a woman. It's against our rules." The first monk replies, "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? How many people, moments, or mistakes are you still carrying? You've done your best. You've made choices with the understanding you had then. Carrying guilt now only weighs down your spirit. Forgiveness, both for yourself and others, isn't approval. It's freedom. Letting go is not forgetting. It is honoring the past without being bound by it. Begin with one thing today. Write a letter you never send. Whisper an apology. Forgive someone in your heart. Open a window in your soul and let the fresh air in. By 50, many have mastered the art of saying yes to work, to favors, to family obligations. But few have learned the gentle power of no. In Buddhist mindfulness, right intention and right speech are parts of the Eightfold Path. Speaking truthfully includes speaking truth to ourselves. And sometimes that truth sounds like, "No, I can't do that right now. I need rest. I need space. I need to choose me." There is a story of a wise woman who kept a jar of clear water on her table. Every time she said yes to something that drained her, she added a drop of black ink. Over time, the jar turned dark. But when she began saying no to what no longer served her, the water slowly cleared. This is the reality. Every yes is a no to something else. Often, that something else is your peace. You are allowed to rest, to not attend the event, to not answer the call immediately. You're not selfish. You're wise. Start small. One gentle no today. Not with guilt, but with love for yourself. Is it hard for you to say no? What boundary are you ready to create? Leave your thoughts below and subscribe if you want more permission to live peacefully. We often wait for big events to feel alive. A vacation, a celebration, a promotion. But the deeper truth? Life hides in the smallest of places. A warm cup of tea on a quiet morning. The sound of birds outside your window. The scent of rain. These are not interruptions. They are life. In Zen Buddhism, monks are taught to treat every act, washing dishes, folding robes, sweeping floors, as sacred. Because in full presence, any act becomes meditation. There's a parable of a student who asked his master, "What is enlightenment?" The master said, "When hungry, eat. When tired, sleep." The student was confused. "But don't we all do that?" The master replied, "No, when you eat, your mind is elsewhere. When you sleep, your thoughts chase tomorrow. I eat while eating. I sleep while sleeping. That is the difference." This is mindfulness, not just a technique, but a way of seeing the world. After 50, your moments are more precious than ever. Don't miss them while reaching for something grand. So take a deep breath. Feel the sun on your skin. Listen to someone without planning your response. Let ordinary things become holy. Who would you be if you weren't carrying the old story? You know, the one that says, "I'm too late. I should have done more. This is just who I am." We repeat these lines until they become a script. But Buddhist wisdom invites us to live unscripted, to see that every moment is new, and we are not fixed characters. The Buddha taught that the self is not a permanent thing. It's a process, constantly changing, shaped by choices and awareness. That means you are never too old to become who you truly are. There's a story of a woman who became a monk at 80. People asked, "Why now?" She smiled and said, "Because now is the only time I ever had." You can rewrite the story today. You can be softer, more joyful, more daring. You can learn, rest, forgive, begin again. The past is a teacher, not a sentence. Your age is not a limitation. It's a library of insight, of resilience, of strength. So pick up the pen. Edit the beliefs that hurt you. Rewrite the chapters that haunt you. Tell a new story, one of peace. What's one line you're ready to rewrite in your life story? Share it below and subscribe if you're ready to begin again with grace. Imagine waking up and treating your day, not as a checklist, but as a sacred journey. In Buddhist Tradition, a pilgrimage is not about reaching a destination. It's about how you walk, with reverence, with awareness, with open eyes and a quiet heart. After 50, every step you take can become part of your pilgrimage, not through distant lands, but through your very life. One Zen saying goes, "When walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble." This means, live each moment fully. Don't half-live your days. Let every act be intentional. There's a story of a teacher who asked his students to walk barefoot through a garden. He told them to walk slowly, feel each blade of grass, smell each flower. At the end, he said, "You just lived more deeply in 5 minutes than most people do in a week." How often do we rush through life, trying to get things done? But life isn't waiting for a big finale. It's happening now, in how you brush your hair, greet a neighbor, or take a deep breath before responding. Make your life a pilgrimage by honoring the steps. Don't rush. Don't numb. Walk with heart. In a world that praises productivity and busyness, emptiness can feel uncomfortable. But Buddhist wisdom reveals a beautiful paradox. True fullness is found in emptiness. The heart of Buddhist meditation is shunyata, emptiness. Not a void, but a space, clearing, a place where peace can enter. There's a well-known Zen story of a professor visiting a master to learn about Zen. The master serves tea and continues pouring, even as the cup overflows. The professor shouts, "Stop! The cup is full." The master replies, "Exactly. You are like this cup, too full to receive anything new. Empty yourself first." After 50, we often carry a lifetime of expectations, beliefs, regrets. We fill our days with noise, TV, news, appointments, because silence can feel like staring into a mirror. But that silence is where your soul begins to speak. Embrace empty spaces in your day, the still morning, the breath between tasks, the moment before you speak. Don't rush to fill it. Listen instead. Emptying is not losing. It's making room for joy, for presence, for what really matters now. What's one thing you can remove from your mental cup today? Let us know in the comments. And if this idea speaks to you, subscribe and make more space for peace. When we are young, we chase success. But as the years go by, another question begins to whisper, what legacy am I leaving behind? Buddhism teaches us that karma, our actions, ripple far beyond our lifetime. Not in a mystical sense alone, but in real human ways. A smile you gave a stranger 20 years ago may have softened a heart. A kind word might have shifted someone's path. We rarely see the full impact of our quiet kindness, but it lives on. There's a story of a man who planted fig trees in the desert. People laughed. You'll never eat the fruit. They take too long to grow. The man smiled and said, I eat fruit today because someone planted for me. I do the same. You may not write books or build monuments, but every act of compassion is a legacy. Every time you held your child, forgave a friend, comforted someone grieving, you shaped the future. Kindness is never wasted. After 50, legacy isn't about grand achievements. It's about the small traces of love you leave in others' hearts. As we age, life inevitably introduces us to illness, our own or that of someone we love, and eventually to loss. These are the chapters most avoid discussing, but Buddhist wisdom meets them with openness. The Buddha said, all that is born is subject to decay and death. This is the natural law. It may sound harsh, but within this truth is deep freedom. There's a Tibetan practice called Lojong, which involves contemplating impermanence daily. Not to dwell in fear, but to deepen appreciation. When we truly understand life is fleeting, we love more fully, we forgive faster, we waste less time on things that don't matter. A woman once asked a monk how to stop fearing death. He replied, live so honestly and lovingly that you have no regrets. When illness visits your body, meet it with compassion. Treat it as a teacher, not a punishment. When loss comes knocking, let grief move through you. Don't hold it in or run from it. Every tear is proof that you loved. Loss teaches us presence. Illness teaches us value. They are harsh teachers, yes, but they carve space in us for deeper wisdom. There's a beauty in the way life simplifies after 50. The desire to impress fades. The need for approval softens. What once felt urgent begins to feel unnecessary. Buddhism honors simplicity as a spiritual strength. Monks own little, eat simply, and live in stillness, not because they are deprived, but because they are free. There's a parable of a rich man who visited a monastery. He saw the monks' plain robes and bowls, and asked, "Where are your treasures?" The head monk smiled and replied, "Where are yours?" The man said, "At home, of course." The monk answered, "So are ours." Simplicity doesn't mean poverty. It means clarity. It means knowing what matters. A small home filled with peace is more valuable than a mansion filled with noise. Now is the perfect time to let go of things, commitments, habits that clutter your life. Ask yourself, does this bring me peace, or does it cost me peace? When you remove what's unnecessary, you find what's sacred. What is one thing you could simplify this week? Comment your intention below. And if simplicity calls to your spirit, subscribe and let's walk lighter together. We often hear the phrase, "Live each day as if it were your last." But what if the real secret is to live each day as if it were your first? Children greet each day with wonder. They notice bugs, clouds, puddles. Everything is alive. Everything is new. Buddhist beginner's mind, or Shoshin, is the practice of seeing the world without the veil of routine or assumption. It is the spiritual discipline of awe. Imagine waking up tomorrow and noticing the way the light touches your curtains, the sound of your breath, the kindness of someone's voice, the miracle of being alive, still today. There's a Zen master who, each morning, would place his hand on his heart and say, "This may be the first and only time I get to feel this beat today." That is not sadness. It is sacredness. After 50, life slows down, not to punish you, but to give you time to see again. Don't just go through your day. Be in it. Drink your tea as if you've never tasted tea. Hug someone as if it's your first embrace. Laugh fully. Listen deeply. Each breath is a gift. Each day is a doorway. You're not too old. You're exactly on time. What moment today felt new to you? Or could you make new tomorrow? Share it in the comments and subscribe to journey deeper into presence. Life, when seen through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, becomes not a race, but a sacred unfolding. After 50, the illusion of forever begins to fade. But in its place, a deeper truth is born, that this moment, right now, is the only one that matters. You've walked far. You've learned deeply. Now is the time to live wisely, love gently, and be fully present. If this journey has touched something in you, tell us below. What was your favorite chapter? Your deepest insight? And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep walking this path of peace together.